Learning the Sfas Emes, Chukas 5634. Sfas Emes mentions the well-known Chazal that 10 things were created Erev Shabbos Ben Hashmoshes. On the eve of the Sabbath at dusk. The Pia Be'er is one of them is the mouth of the water from which flowed forth the water for the Klal Yisrael in the Midbar. And it says, "Say mayim v'oirach v'noizl miter be'erech." That you should drink water from your well, and that which flows from your spring. And Sfas Emes explains that Boer is mayim mchunosim, which is gathered waters. When rain falls, you gather water. Boer ma'ayin novea, and be'er is a spring that continuously sprouts forth water. Now he says every Jewish person, he has this inner life. As we find HaKadosh Baruch Hu, when he created man, he instilled within his nostrils the breath of life. He said a person has to find this point, and that is the work that a person has to do in order to bring all of his actions to this point of life from Hashem. That's why it says, drink water from your well, where you've gathered what you've done. And that is the work that we do during the 6 days of the week. On Shabbos Kodesh, there is the second part of the Posuk, V'noizlim, that which flows from your spring, that the inner spring comes and gives new light, and that's the Neshama Yisera. We find also the song of Dvoya Be'echa Fru Asorim, well that was dug by Sarim, which are the leaders. Heima Tzadikim, these are the righteous people, that they are people who have their hearts within their control. Karua, they were hewn by those who are benevolent. Now the Sfas Emes explains, digging is to find water that comes out from the ground. Hewing is to add depth to something which already has water. Because to find newness, it's through the tzaddikim. That's where you find, I have a new spring of, I have a new place to learn from, and therefore I should learn there. However, after that, you have to find greater depth within you, so that you should have the desire that every person does have to contain that which is there, and a spring flows further unless you contain it in a deeper receptacle. That which was hewn, because the entire desire is to leave a imprint, and when you chisel out something in your heart, that leaves it in your heart, and therefore you have to strengthen oneself to have faith in Hashem. And this is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu will help you. As Chazal say, the way that a person wants to go, that's how HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes him. And therefore, somebody has desire, a true desire, has to rely on Hashem, that He'll help him. And this is Bimish Anoisom. They rely on their crutches or their staffs, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then we find in the posuk that they traveled from Midbar, from the desert to Matona, to a place called Matona. But Matona is translated as a gift. Midbar, a desert, is the way that a person acts and forms his deeds according to his desire, as we mentioned above, during the weekdays. Through that, he can merit on Shabbos to the gift of Shabbos. How do we know that Shabbos is a gift? Because we find HaKadosh Baruch Hu told Moshe Rabbeinu, I have a special gift in my treasure house, and that's Shabbos And Genozai, Geniza means hidden. it's hidden in the weekday. It's not in Shabbos alone, because the actions of man is the preparations for Shabbos. These are two levels of, one is of purity and one is of sanctity. As we find in the Zohar HaKodesh that says, purity comes from the fact that there is impurity, that we see and make sure that we stay away from that which could cause us to be impure, to be pure, and should be pure and clean, not to become muddy in actions that bring impurity, and that's done by having a connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, being one, having a oneness, nullifying ourselves to have a oneness with Hashem, as it says in the Pasuk that only Hashem can give us purity from defilement. Mi yitain Torah mitome lo echod. Who can give purity from impurity? Only the one who is called one, with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world with impurity and with purity, in order to see that there should be nothing separating them. Through the nullification, we become pure, and that's a proof to the oneness of Hashem, and that is work. On Shabbos it says, "Vayikadesh oisoi," HaKadosh Baruch Hu sanctified it, that He renewed the life in everything from the above world, as it says before, Pi Haber, that this mouth of the well was created between the weekdays and Shabbos. We have to utilize the weekdays to feel the Kedusha of Shabbos. Zohar HaTorah, Chazal explain it, that Torah is only available to somebody who puts his whole being, his whole life, on the line for Torah. Even though it says v'chai b'hem, one doesn't have to die doing mitzvahs, except for 3 specific sins. One has to actually transgress rather than die. But from the side of the person, he has to be ready to die. He has to be ready for this Mesiras Nefesh, ready to give his all for Hashem. Just because Hashem said v'chai b'hem, that one has to live with the Torah, not die by it. Therefore, by 3 specific transgressions, which are immorality, murder, and idol worship, a person has to be ready at all times, chas v'sholom, it shouldn't happen, to give his life. And according to the way one nullifies himself to Torah, so is established within him, Torah remains with him, because it is the main point that's important to him. In the Medrash and in Rashi, that the Jews are not reckoned with among the nations. That what Bnei Yisrael benefits in this world, living among the nations, they is not part of the reckoning that HaKadosh Baruch Hu makes. You have to do yours, and the fact that you exist among the nations, and that's even a great accomplishment, that is a separate item. Meaning, since this world is not the main value to Bnei Yisrael, in fact, it has little value, and the less value it has, so too will he have a greater life in the world to come. That he shouldn't reckon this world at all. We find there are 2 things that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives to creation, that he enhances creation. One is from nature, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu causes things to grow, he has to give sustenance to his creations. And the second one comes from the actions of Klal Yisrael. Just that those people who are wicked lose and destroy the world, and therefore they receive reward in this world because it's considered for them reward. Bnei Yisrael, that add good deeds, the rule of nature that is not part of the reward. And therefore, we find, as we're learning the Daf Yomi, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu pays the tzaddikim l'osalovoi, and he takes retribution for them for minor actions in this world, so they'll have a greater portion of the world to come. Vice versa, by Rishoim, in the world to come, he will destroy them. In this world, he pays them for the mitzvahs that they do, even if they're slight mitzvahs.